Hey y'all, I am back with an Astro-Tarot reading. This is for one of my clients. She purchased a reading through my website and she asked that I do it via video and upload it to YouTube. Now, I'm keeping her name anonymous, but I decided to call her Divine because she has her moon in Sagittarius. She's a Sagittarius rising, also has North Node in Sagittarius and Mercury. Now her sun is in Capricorn, and that Sagittarius theme is really showing through because she is very concerned about spiritual enlightenment, which is very much the essence of the Sagittarius North Node. So, Divine, you had 4 questions. So, your first question is, am I meant to have a successful life in this lifetime? Now, you wrote, growing up was very chaotic for me. My brother has autism and would harm my mother on a frequent basis. I remember coming home from school and seeing my mother's face covered with scratches. That broke my heart into a million pieces. I always wanted to have a life full of prosperity, peace, and beauty so that I can take care of my mom the way she's taking care of me. Now, I do see in your chart that close connection you have with your mother. You have Mercury conjoined to your moon, and it's in the first house. So that's why you're so concerned about helping out your mother, giving her that life of prosperity, especially because it's in Sagittarius. Sagittarius is that sign of prosperity. Now, that Mercury conjunct moon aspect in your chart also points to your brother because Mercury rules siblings. The moon rules your mother. So Mercury conjoined to the moon points to a very close association that your brother had with your mother as well. However, this association was often fraught with his abuse because of his autism, just as you mentioned. Now, Mercury is conjoined to the asteroid Tauro, and Tauro is an asteroid that deals with aggression and abuse. So it's in your chart about your brother. You also have your South Node in Gemini, and the Gemini South Node can often produce karmic induced circumstances involving siblings. So that Gemini South Node is the underlying reason why you had the issue with your sibling, your brother. Now, let me read your question again. So you said, am I meant to have a successful life in this lifetime? Now, my first advice to you is to define what success means to you. And that's very much dealing with your first house, North Node. So you can't allow anybody else to define what success means for you. You have to define it for yourself. Now, as a Capricorn sun, you may never be satisfied with your current level of success. Once you attain success in one area, you're going to be looking to be successful in another. Hence that 7 of Wands card. So I did a 4 card spread. This first card is dealing with the situation. You have the Hermit, and this is where you're basically asking questions. You're basically looking for guidance, and that's very much the Hermit card. The Challenge card is the 7 of Wands, and that's pointing to the different ambitions that you're going to have throughout your life. And that's very indicative of that Gemini South Node. So that Gemini South Node can deal with a number of things that you're interested in, but it could be hard to pin one major thing down. That Sagittarius North Node is telling you that you need to really put your all into one thing that you're really good at. And it doesn't just have to be one thing, but to really place a lot of focus on a certain area or a certain aspiration. And then once you've attained that, you could go on to attain other things. Also, know, like I said before, you being a Capricorn, you may never fully be satisfied with your level of success. You may never feel that you've fully attained success because that's just how Capricorn rolls. Now, also, if your definition of success involves financial security, you may have a hard time attaining it since the sun is in semi-square with Venus and Saturn in Aquarius. Also, Saturn is ruling your second house through Capricorn, and this can manifest as fluctuating income because Saturn is in Aquarius, is conjoined to Venus. Venus is the planet of money. Now, Uranus and Neptune are in the second house, and that can result in periods of financial instability. The good thing is that Venus is in trine with your Jupiter, so you do have the ability to make a great deal of money over the course of your life. However, there still could be periods of your life where you're dealing with financial instability. You could you could also suffer from some substantial losses at various times in your life. So my advice to you is to not include financial security when it comes to your definition of success. But again, you have to define what success means to you. So even if you want to throw financial security in there, I'm not really here to tell you what success should be to you. That's something you need to find out on your own. And it's so funny because I was listening to this Prince song, and it's making me think of this reading right here. Prince put out a song years ago called Money Don't Matter Tonight. And I feel that that's the approach that you need to take, because really that song is about money don't matter, because it really comes down to who you really are and who you are on a soul level. That's why in the song he says, um, that's when you find out that you're better off making sure your soul's all right. Money didn't matter yesterday, and it sure doesn't matter tonight. So that's how, with that Sagittarius North Node in the first house, it's like, yeah, money shouldn't be the end all be all, because you have to be more about that spiritual side of life. But Sagittarius is also the sign of wealth and abundance. So again, you have the ability to make a great deal of money. Venus is in trine to your Jupiter, but hopefully your idea of success is not just contingent upon the amount of money that you're making. All right, next question. Number 2, will I ever reach spiritual enlightenment? Even though I'm a Capricorn, I'm very sensitive, something that I've always hated about myself. Anyways, I love spirituality and metaphysics, and a while back, my mom introduced me to the law of attraction. Ever since then, I've been trying to raise my vibration and become a better person. The thing is that I've been hurt deeply many times, and I want so badly to move on with my life. I was wondering if you see anything about me reaching enlightenment. Now, I definitely see that being the case because you have that Sagittarius North Node. Now, again, I did a 4-card reading: situation, challenge, advice, outcome. Now, that Hanged Man is pointing to spiritual enlightenment. And again, spiritual enlightenment is part of your destiny because you have that first house Sagittarius North Node. Now, the Lover's card is in the challenge position, and that's representing your Gemini South Node. The Lover's card does correspond to the sign Gemini. And Gemini and the Lover's card deals with choices. It can deal with vacillation, but it can also deal with two-faced people. So you said that you've been hurt deeply many times. That's very much dealing with that Gemini South Node in the 7th house. So with that advice card, Queen of Pentacles, and that's very much representing your Capricorn sun, you have to be very selective and guarded when it comes to dealing with people once you become spiritually enlightened. So you may be thinking that to become spiritually enlightened, you have to have this come one, come all type of approach. But no, that's not true at all. You know, you could be very guarded and very selective about who you choose to help, who you choose to deal with, and still be spiritually enlightened. Now, the biblical saying, don't cast your pearls before swine, comes to mind. with this particular reading. So casting your pearls before swine is very indicative of that Gemini South Node, because Gemini deals with the common folk. It deals with everyday type people, even people that could be small minded. So you got to surround yourself by high minded people and really reduce the tendency to just be, swayed by popular opinion, I'll say. You really have to guard against that. Also, there's a need to heed your intuition, which is very much a part of that Sagittarius North Node. Now, your Mercury is conjoined to your moon in Sagittarius, so you're highly, highly intuitive, especially because that conjunction is in your first house. So you already basically are spiritually enlightened. You just have to really acknowledge that and really uh, separate yourself from the masses. And that's very much Sagittarius, not really being part of the common people, being with people that are more high minded, people that are more spiritually centered. And did I say that? Did I mention that your sun is ruling the ninth house, which aids in your intuitive abilities as well? So you're very highly intuitive. Also, when I said be selective, that comes to when it comes to doing spiritually centered work. And that spiritually centered work could deal with your next question that I'm about to get into. So you just can't be spiritually enlightened in this lifetime. You have to do something with it. So that could be volunteering for various charities, or, helping people in need, or becoming a spiritual advisor, counselor, what have you. And that Hermit card, that is basically you being more to yourself, because the Hermit card keeps to himself. The Hermit is full of wisdom. The Hermit is very enlightened, hence that lantern that he's holding. Also, that could deal with where you may become some type of spiritual advisor or counselor at some point. And that's very possible with that Mercury conjoined to your moon in Sagittarius, conjoined to that Sagittarius North Node. You have Venus trine Jupiter, and Jupiter is in Libra, which can deal with you being an advisor to people. All right. Third question. So this question right here is related to question number 2 in terms of your spiritual enlightenment. So you said, do you see me becoming an adoptive parent? You said, my mom wants grandkids so badly, but the truth is that I want to adopt once I'm financially secure. Do you see me doing so? I say yes, especially your North Node being in Sagittarius and it being conjoined to your Mercury and the Moon. And with the Moon ruling the 8th house, that can result in being a mother to other people's children, because the 8th house deals with other people. The Moon is like I said, the moon is ruling Cancer. Cancer is on the 8th. You also have Mars, ruler of the 5th house, being in Cancer in the 8th house, which reinforces that theme of being a mother to other people's children. Now, that Empress card in the advice position says it all. The Empress represents mothers. So you definitely will become an adoptive mother at some point. That North Node in Sagittarius is pointing to that as well, because Sagittarius is the sign of adoption. The sun is representing children, is ruling your 9th house. The 9th house is very much like Sagittarius, so the 9th house deals with adoption as well. You have Leo on the 9th house cusp. That, in the most literal sense, can be adopted children. What's also interesting in your chart, you have the Arabic part of suns being conjoined to your Jupiter in Libra in the 10th house. That right there is like going through an adoption agency to have your son. So you're going to have a son, according to your chart, that you're going to get through an adoption agency, because Jupiter is in Libra, Libra's agencies, Jupiter is adoption, and that 10th house is basically dealing with regulations, government, and interference and all that type of stuff, having to comply with certain rules and stuff like that, certain laws. You also have the Arabic part of daughters conjoined to Venus and Saturn in Aquarius. Now, when I saw that, I was like, okay, she's going to have an adopted daughter too. And with the Arabic part of daughters being conjoined to your Venus and Saturn in Aquarius, that makes me think that this daughter may have special needs. And that can be very much indicative of that Ace of Swords card, because that Ace of Swords can represent adversity. And it means that you need to be strong in the face of adversity. And that Ace of Swords is very much an Aquarian card. It can deal with all three of the air signs. So Aquarius is included in that. And you have your Venus and Saturn in Aquarius. So your adopted daughter may have some special needs. She may have a disability, like having a cerebral palsy, or she may have a bad nervous condition. So you have to be willing to take on that cause. And Aquarius is very much about being for a cause or supporting a cause. So you might have an adopted daughter, she might have some type of disability, and next thing you know, you are fighting for that cause regarding that disability or her special needs. Also, that Ace of Swords in the challenge position is simply pointing to the legalities involving the adoption process. That Ace of Swords also means that you need to adopt these children only when the time is right. So I would say the later you do it, the better, because you still have some things to accomplish in terms of your career, in terms of your profession. That Four of Swords is the outcome, and you can look at that Four of Swords as placement, the adoption placement itself. So yes, you will become an adoptive mother. I believe it's definitely part of your destiny from what I see in your chart. Those Arabic parts says it all. The Empress card says it all. And your Sagittarius energy, which deals with adoption, says it all as well. So good luck with that. I think you'll be very successful. And again, this goes hand in hand with your spiritual enlightenment, because I believe through adopting these children, you're going to become even more spiritually enlightened. Like, these children are going to teach you some things. And then we have question number 4. You asked, do you see me living near the beach? I've always wanted a beach house with positive energy. That Sun card is dealing with that positive energy. The Emperor card is dealing with an ambition. So you have an ambition to live near the beach. So my answer is yes, as evidenced by the Five of Cups card. So the advice card is the Five of Cups right here. Now that card looks, kind of depressing, doesn't it? But if you look, there's water right here, and it looks like the person's standing on the beach. So there's your beach right there. Plus you have Pisces on your 4th house cusp, which is great for living somewhere around a body of water or having waterfront property even. However, if you live too close to the beach, you'll probably end up regretting it. And that could be very Five of Cups. Also, that Ten of Swords comes in with that too. And that Ten of Swords card is a Gemini card, and that's very much representing your Gemini South Node. So I'm saying that you'll probably regret it once you see all the locals and the tourists that are going to the beach, and you might see too many vagrants and beach bums around there. Just being too close to a lot of people is not really conducive to your spiritual evolution in this lifetime. Like, being in tightly packed areas, or even when it gets like that, just during certain times of the year, like the summer season, that beach town is going to be very packed with tourists and people just going to the beach. That hustle and bustle type thing, that's very Gemini South Node. You really want to avoid that. So it would be more advantageous to live in the town, like the next town over, but where you're within like a 30-minute to an hour drive away from the beach. But if you really have a need to be able to look out your window and see the ocean or whatever like that, then you definitely want to try to move somewhere where the beach is in a remote area. When I say remote, I don't mean like straight out in the boondocks, but somewhere where there's not going to be a lot of traffic, there's not going to be a lot of tourists and all that stuff. So the more remote the beach, the better. And also, once you've adopted children, you're really not going to want to live very close to the beach for various reasons, but mainly because of safety. Now, Neptune is ruling your fourth house, and it's in the second house in Capricorn. So the cost of living, as well as safety and security, are going to be very important to you with respect to housing, whether you live at the beach or not, but especially if you live near the beach. Like I said, you might end up regretting it if you live too close, especially once you have children. And that sun card in the challenge position can also represent children as well. So again, there's just it just seems like there's a tendency for a lot of vagrants and um homeless people, not saying all homeless people are sketchy, but beach towns can have sketchy areas, especially like if there's a boardwalk and people are just known to, always be around that area and stuff like that. So again, you need to be very selective when it comes to choosing the type of area that has a beach. All right. Um, I think that's pretty much it. Let me know if you have any questions. You could just send me an email. And if anybody would like this style of reading, you can purchase a phone reading from my website and I'll convert it to this style of reading for you. So all you have to do is purchase a 30-minute phone reading. And then when I send you an email confirming that I received your order, that's when you can specify at that time that you would like me to do a video reading for you and upload it to YouTube. And if you would like me to keep your name anonymous, you can do that as well. And also, if you would like a reading in general, just go to my website, rabita.com. And again, if you would like that video reading, but you're unsure of how it works or whatever, just send me an email, karma3675@aol.com. That's karma, KARMA 3675@aol.com. And I'll be right at your service. So again, Divine, I hope that I was able to provide some insight and enlightenment for you. And please send me an email if you have any questions about the reading. A lot of times the reading really comes to life when you have follow-up questions. So I'll be back with more videos. Stay tuned. I'll be back with that live stream for Pisces season. I promise. Just hold on. So peace, many blessings. I'll see you guys soon.